hope everyone is doing good and taking good care of themselves. So today we are exploring one of the most taboo yet life-altering effects of narcissistic abuse, and that is how children of narcissistic parents suffer with their sexual identity, sexual confidence, and expression as adults. And this is a subject most survivors carry in silence because it's wrapped in shame, secrecy, and confusion. Narcissistic abuse doesn't just destroy your self-esteem, it infiltrates your body, your sense of desire, and how safe you feel in intimacy. And I assure you, by the end of this lecture, you'll understand how narcissistic parenting shapes sexual development, why survivors feel shame or numbness around sex, how some turn to extreme behavior or kink as a way to reclaim control, and most importantly, how do we heal our sexual self. So it all starts from the childhood. Your sexual identity begins forming long before your first relationship. It is shaped by the environment you grew up in, how love, touch, and boundaries were modeled. In a healthy home, children learn, my body is mine. Love feels safe. Boundaries are respected and appreciated. But in narcissistic home, those lessons are twisted. Yeah? My body exists to serve others. Love equals control and shame. My needs are dangerous, bad, and it's me being selfish. So let me put aside my needs. Yeah? So this confusion lays the groundwork for sexual struggles later. Dr. Patrick Carnes, an expert in sexual trauma, explains that when a child's boundaries are violated emotionally or physically, the brain wires sex and fear together, making intimacy either terrifying or extremely addictive. Yeah? So it's all rooted in your childhood. Yeah? It all begins in the childhood. Yeah? It begins, the way how you are treated. In healthy homes, you learn things differently. In narcissistic homes, those lessons are twisted and effed up. Yeah? Now, there are several ways these narcissistic parents distort their children's sexual development. The first way is, you guys must be aware of this, shaming and humiliation. So they are going to shame your natural curiosity. Oh, you're dirty. Oh, that's disgusting. Yeah, when you are curious, when you are exploring yourself, they're going to shame the natural curiosity. In healthy homes, you are allowed to be curious. You're not shamed for being your natural self. These narcissistic, parents, they are going to control how you dress, how you speak, or express your body. Everything is in their hands. You are not allowed to express the way how you feel. You are controlled, by them. You are allowed to dress in a specific way. You are allowed only to speak in a certain tone and manner and in a specific way. And the same thing goes with your body. How you express your body, it's being controlled, monitored, administered, and managed by them. So they micromanage. And all of this creates a lifelong association of desire with shame. So you don't take desire or accept or understand desire in its healthy form. You feel desire is equal to shame. Yeah, and vice versa. Yeah, it's shameful to desire something. Yeah, being desirable is being shameful, shameless. Yeah, so you literally grow up in an environment where everything is effed up, and the credit goes to the narcissistic parent. They treat you in such a way that it literally distorts your sexual development. Yeah? The other way how these narcissistic parents distort their children's sexual development is with over sexualization. So some narcissistic parents sexualize their children, commenting on their looks, weight, or sexual development. And they may make inappropriate jokes, compare you with sexualized figures, or even flirt with you to assert dominance. And because of this, the child grows up objectified, learning that their worth is tied to sexual appeal. Yeah, if they are not sexually appealing, then they are worthless. Yeah, I mean, that's how these narcissistic parents, distort their children's sexual development, yeah, by over sexualizing, yeah, passing dirty jokes, commenting on their looks, and inappropriate jokes, comparing you with some hypersexual figures, hyper feminine figures, hyper masculine figures, and all of it stunts your sexual development. It stunts your growth. You're not allowed to grow. Yeah, before any growth, you are objectified, and you start believing that my worth is tied to my sexual appeal. If I'm not sexually appealing, I'm bad. I won't be loved. I'll be alone. The other way how these narcissistic parents distort their children's sexual development is with emotional incest and enmeshment. So these parents, they use children as an emotional spouse, their children as an emotional spouse, as an emotional surrogate. Again, blurring roles. They overshare sexual details about their own relationship, their ups and downs with the children, which they shouldn't. They should share it with someone of their age, but they do it with their children. Some even involve the child in sexual conversation or fantasy. Your daddy couldn't satisfy me, your mother was not good in bed. Yeah, I mean, blurring boundaries and taking things to a different level. And in some of the cases, it goes to sexual abuse as well. And as Dr. Kenneth Adam notes in Silently Seduced, this form of enmeshment warps the child's ability to separate love, sex, and boundaries. So it becomes all fused. The child doesn't know that love is separate, sex is separate, boundary is separate. Yeah, the child is unable to see these things separately. The child believes that all of this is one thing: boundary, sex, and love. Yeah, whereas in reality, these are different things. So that's how they stunt their children's sexual development and their children's sexual growth, these narcissistic parents. The other way how they stunt their children's sexual development is by physical sexual abuse. I mean, this is in some of the cases, not in every cases, but I think in 40% of the cases I have seen some form or the other, yeah, mild to extreme. And this form of abuse includes fondling, coercion, or any form of sexual contact, and all of this leaves deep trauma. Survivors often dissociate during sexual experience as adult, yeah, feeling unsafe in their own bodies. Yeah, they might just be dissociated, and they don't know what is happening. Yeah, and they might feel scared all of a sudden in their own body. Yeah, intimacy is like a scary thing for them. Yeah, so when you are exposed to childhood sexual abuse, that definitely you know um, distorts your sexual development when you are exposed to sexual abuse at the hands of your narcissistic parent. The other way how these narcissistic parents distort your sexual development is with conditional love and control. So the parent rewards compliance with affection, punishes independence with withdrawal. Yeah, and this trains the child to perform sexually or romantically for approval later in life, and not because he or she wants. It's all about performance. Yeah, love becomes a performance. Yeah, how well I perform, that's what matters. It's not that it's out of love. No, my performance matters, not my feeling and emotion. Yeah, so it distorts the things. And who suffers? The kids suffer. The kids partners suffer. The kids chosen family suffers because of this. Yeah, because the parent is stunting the child's growth with so much of control, so much of coercion, different forms of abuse. Now let us understand how does all of these things, the kind of things these kids are put through, how it affects their adulthood? So these early violations and distortions manifest in what I called sexual struggles. Yeah, sexual shame and guilt. You may avoid intimacy because it feels dirty or dangerous. Yeah, low desire or sexual numbing. The body shuts down to protect you. You don't engage. You are not opening up. You are just shut down. Yeah, you just don't want to get into any kind of sex. You have, reduced libido. You have low desire. You just don't want to get into it. Yeah, because you feel that it's bad, it's not good, you hate sex. In some ways you become anhedonic. You don't experience pleasure, yeah, from the normal natural things that we should experience pleasure from. Yeah, good food, good sex. You don't, because you feel scared. You feel that I need to be in charge and in control. And how do I do that? By avoiding sex, by avoiding any kind of such engagement. The other way how all of these things influence and impact the adulthood is with hypersexuality or risky sex. So children who are raised by narcissistic parents, you know some of them, they tend to swing to the opposite extremes. Yeah, seeking power through sexual control. Yeah, I mean, weird things, adventurous sex and all of that, they get into that, and that is their way of feeling in charge, feeling in control, even though it's risking their health, even though it's risking them, but they don't care. I mean, some of them, they get into hypersexuality and risky sex. Yeah, and that makes them feel as if they are in control, they are in charge. The other things that these kids experience when they are raised by narcissistic parent is confusion about orientation or kink. Yeah, so many survivors use kink or taboo fantasies to process trauma, which can either be healing or re-traumatizing at the same time, I mean, depending on the context. Yeah, so these kids, they engage in a lot of weird things, kinky stuff, and all of it is basically to help them. They feel that this might help me process my trauma. In some cases it does, but in most of the cases they end up re-traumatizing their own self. The other thing that these kids experience is fear of vulnerability. So even in love relationship, sex for these individuals, children who are raised by a narcissistic parent, I mean, now of course they are adult, so these adults, they feel unsafe in sex or during sex, because closeness has always meant losing your own self. So when they engage in sex, they feel scared, they feel losing themselves. Yeah, even if it's a love relationship, and when they are getting into sex, they feel as if they are losing themselves. It's scary, they feel losing control, they feel they are losing themselves in the process if they are having sex with their loved one, I mean their partner, their husband, their wife. And again, Bessel van der Kolk, in his book The Body Keeps the Score, explains that sexual responses in trauma survivors are often hijacked by the past, meaning the body reacts with fear or dissociation even in consensual intimacy. Yeah, your body betrays you even though you don't want to, but your body betrays you in the act. Yeah, so that's how damaging it is, for your sex life, for your sexuality orientation, for your sexual development when you are raised by narcissistic parents. Now, how do we heal our sexual identity after narcissistic abuse? To tell you honestly, healing is possible. It's an ongoing process. It's not that for 1 year I wasn't healing and I'm healed. No, it's an ongoing process. It'll go on. Just the way relationship is an ongoing process, healing is an ongoing process. So healing is possible, But to tell you honestly, it requires addressing both the emotional and the somatic wounds. Yeah. And the steps include naming the abuse, stop calling it just strict parenting, whereas in reality it was pure control and abuse. Yeah. Reclaiming your body. Of course, you can take help of somatic therapy, yoga, breath work. All of it can make you feel safe in your own skin. Yeah. Apart from that, you need to separate sex from fear. Yeah. With therapy, with time you can rewire the brain to associate intimacy with safety rather than danger. Yeah. I mean because of our childhood, in our adult life, whenever we are intimate, we feel as if we are losing ourselves and something bad is going to happen, or they are going to misuse me, or some catastrophe is going to happen. But you need to separate sex from fear. Yeah. Sex is a good thing. Yeah. Sex is to enjoy. Sex is to be happy, to mutually enjoy, and there is no fear in that, and there is no danger in that. Yeah. So we need to rewire our brain. We need to relearn and unlearn a lot of things that we felt and we believed. Um, those were merely adaptations. Those are not you. Yeah. The actual you deserves pleasure. The actual you deserves to have sex without any fear. Yeah. The actual you deserves to explore yourself without any boundary and without any guilt or shame. No, you shouldn't. Yeah. The other thing that you can do to heal yourself is to explore desire without shame. And how do you do that? Self-discovery, journaling, and trauma-informed sexual education. Yeah. This can help you reclaim your authentic sexual self. No contact or low contact doesn't help. You need to do a lot of work on yourself. Yeah. And it starts from naming the abuse. This is abuse. This is not love and affection and care. This is pure abuse. Yeah. And lastly, you can take help of boundaries. Yeah. Boundaries as liberation. So learning that saying no is safe. It's not unsafe to say no. It's absolutely safe to say no. And yes, saying yes is of course a choice. I don't have to say yes. If I want, if I truly desire and want, I'll say yes. Otherwise, I'll say no. And it's absolutely safe to say no. Yeah. There is no obligation. There is no strings attached. I can say yes if I want, and I can safely say no. Yeah. So we need to, learn, to use boundaries. Yeah. Boundaries are, keys to liberation. So yes, if you grew up with a narcissistic parent and now struggle with your sexuality, please hear me. There is nothing wrong with you. You are absolutely normal. You are absolutely okay. Your desires are not shameful. Your numbness is not brokenness. These are just survival responses to trauma. Yeah. These are not flaws that you cannot overcome. These are just a kind of a survival response. So there's nothing wrong. You can always unlearn and relearn the good thing and have a good life. Yeah. With the right support, you can reclaim your sexual identity, not as something given to you by an abuser, but as something sacred that belongs only to you, only to me. Yeah. So yes, thank you so much for watching, and I would request you to please share the video so that it creates awareness and so that it helps others. So yes, this was it. In case if you would like to add in something, please comment below. Till then, take care of yourself. Lots of love and blessings to all of you. Bye.